Alright, you guys asked for it by popular demand. Skynet version 2 on the Anet A8. Let's get started. Okay, first things first, let's give credit where credit is due. You wouldn't be watching this video, I wouldn't be making this video if a lot of people didn't put in a lot of hard work to design this firmware. And I don't know everybody's name, but thank you very much. It works great. I'm on version 1 now. It's always worked great for me. It's made this printer really good. First thing we need to do, if you're going to get version 2, download it from the Facebook page. And I really recommend print out the tutorial. That's what I'm following. So that's the first thing you need to do. Print it out, get it down. This is not a super complicated process, but let's be honest, there's some little quirks to it. Okay, you've downloaded Skynet version 2.3.2 from the Facebook page. You've unzipped it and you get a folder like this. In this folder is the Arduino Ide documentation folder and the Skynet, let's call them the project files, as well as a 20mm test cube and Cura 15.04.6. First thing different that I found with this one is much more documentation. It wasn't terrible before, but this time, honestly, it's pretty dang good. Somebody spent a lot of time doing all this stuff. So the tutorial, 2 files, firmware installation, and the auto beta leveling guide, very good. Like I said, print those out, get them right in front of you while you do this. Troubleshooting guide, I tell you the truth, I haven't gone through this, but I'm sure there's good stuff in there. And then the diagrams and images. I shouldn't need any of this. I already have the stock Anet sensor that comes with the printer on my printer, and that's what I'll be using. And that brings me to the other difference. When you go into the Skynet folder, you have all the all the project files right here. The difference with Skynet version 2 is they have spent a lot of time doing different configuration files for each type of printer, the A8, A6, and the A2. Now I have the A8, and you can see within this folder there is a bunch of different configurations you can use. If you have different graphic screens or different bed leveling sensors, there's a configuration file for each one. Now I have the A8 5-button keypad auto level with the stock Anet sensor, so that's the one I'm going to use. So I'm simply going to right click, copy this, go back to the parent folder for the Skynet version 2, and I'm going to paste it in here. Now it's ready to go. If you have a different configuration, then that's what you need to paste. If you have the A6, or you have the A2 or a different Anet with a different graphic screen, then you need to copy that specific configuration file. If you copy a different one, it's not going to work right and you're only going to run into trouble. So keep that in mind. After you've copied the correct configuration file into the Skynet parent folder here, the next thing you need to do is open the Arduino Ide, which is provided right here. So we'll go in there and open Arduino. Are you kidding me? Finally. Alright, once the Arduino Ide is open, you need to check that your printer is connected to your computer through the USB cable. And you need to find out which COM port it's on. To do this, you need to go into the device manager right here. And you can go to COM ports, and you can see mine's on COM 5. We need to know this. So COM 5. Port COM 5. Click it. Done. Now we're talking to our board, or our printer for that matter. Okay, after picking the COM port, we need to pick the board. which is the Anet version 1 for me, and the programmer should be this AVRISP-NKLL. Make sure those are all clicked, because if they don't, you're probably going to be just SOL. Alright, next we need to go ahead and open the main file. So File, Open, and we need to do, I'm still on version 1, so I need to go to version 2, which is here, Skynet version 2, and we're going to look for Skynet. Don't worry, I'll get it somewhere. Right here. Skynet version 2.3.2.ino. And we're going to open that up. So the next thing we want to do once we got it open is to click Verify. This is going to compile the program and make sure there's no issues with it. And hopefully there's not. This can take some time, as well as uploading. I'll say it again, but be patient with it. And bam, we're verified. Done compiling. Since we're done compiling, we can go ahead and hit this upload. Now here is your last chance to decide not to do this. If you brick your printer, obviously it's not my fault, and it's not Skynet's fault. You do this at your own risk. But it should be fairly safe, and I like to take risks. So let's do this. Now once this has been uploaded, your printer should restart and go ahead and display the new version number, I would assume. But I've never done this before, so we're doing it together. Alright, we're done uploading. Awesome. So now we are on Skynet version 2. But the fun's not over yet. We still have to calibrate it and get our Z offset correctly. So let's do that next. So the next thing you need to do is install Cura. It comes with Skynet. Right here, here's the install file, version 15.04.6. I'm not going to go through the installation as I already have it installed. So just know that you need to make sure you're set your machine settings correctly, the bed size, all those. Look into the tutorial because they go into depth on this in the Skynet documentation. I'm not going to get into it. I assume you know how to set up Cura. You've been using your printer up until now. But if you don't, go through the documentation. It goes through it step by step. Okay, once you got Cura all set up for your machine, you need to go to your start and end G code. And this is important. You're not going to get auto bed leveling, and it's not going to work right if you don't put in these settings. So right here you have a couple of G code settings that need to be changed. Now mine are set up for version 1.2, but I'm going to go ahead and change them to what they said. There's a couple differences, I believe, just looking over it really quick. So you need to go into the Skynet documentation that came with it. So here's a documentation folder with the tutorial folder, and you have the firmware installation guide, and you have the auto bed leveling guide. You need to go into the auto bed leveling guide. And once you're in there, you need to go to page 9. And here they have what you need to put in for your start and end G code. Simply highlight it, copy it, go back to your Cura, and paste it. Make sure you do this. Very important. Okay, the next step, we need to load a model. We're not going to actually print a model, but we need to load one anyways. I was recently printing the Elder Wand for my son. He loves it. For me, it's desktop, Skynet version 2, and 20mm cube. We'll go ahead and open that. Oh, what a nice little cube. Alright, then we're going to say print with USB. We're not actually going to print it, but it brings up this menu and we need to do that. We need to have this menu open so we can play with the printer remotely, basically. And it looks like I probably skipped a step, at least for myself. It says opening serial port. So it looks like it can't find my printer because it's been sitting here for a second. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to go to Tools, Machine, where is it? Machine Settings, I believe. I'm going to say COM5 right there and say OK. Do the baud rate. I'll leave it at auto right now. And then we'll say print with USB again. So right here you can see it's already detecting baud rate. And hopefully operational. Now we're ready to go. We can now control the printer through the computer, which is what we need to do. So the first thing you need to make sure you do is make sure that your sensor is above your nozzle. If it's below your nozzle, then it's going to hit your prints when you print. So the way I do that is I use a zip tie. And because it's about 1 millimeter or so, and I stick it under I lower the nozzle all the way down to where it should be on the bed, and then I lower the sensor so that it is basically 1 millimeter above the nozzle. The next step is we want to preheat everything, especially the bed. We don't want to calibrate the bed without it being to temperature. Metal expands when it's hot. So we want everything to be, at the same dimensions as when we would normally print. So to do this, the new thing, we can hit the center key with my setup at least. You go down to prepare, hit the center key, and you go down to preheat PLA, hit the center key, and preheat PLA bed, I believe, and that'll heat up both the bed. No, we want preheat, so prepare. Sorry, this is the first time I'm doing this, guys. You're doing this with me, so it's a little bit different setup. So preheat PLA, not preheat PLA bed, but preheat PLA. And we'll let it heat up, and we'll let it set for 5 minutes so that it's nice, everything's nice and hot. And we'll come on back once that's done. Alright guys, if another way to heat your bed in a nozzle, you can do it right here in the interface where it says temperature and bed temp, and instead of doing it on your printer. So that's just another option. It'll display your bed temperature and your nozzle temperature up here. Alright, now it's time to get into setting our Z offset. And the first thing we want to do is we're going to enter in some G code into this text box in the bottom here, and make sure you do it verbatim, all capital letters, the right numbers, otherwise you can screw some stuff up. So the first thing we want to do is do an M851Z0 command, and that's telling the printer that the offset is 0. And we'll do an M500 command. That's going to save that setting to the EEPROM, the memory on the ANET's board, so that when you turn off the printer, it'll be saved. When you turn it back on, you won't have to do this all over again. And you'd always just want to do that because you're going to do that command a couple times throughout this process. The next thing we want to do is a G28 command. This is an auto home, as you can see in the bottom right hand screen. The printer is now going to auto home all the axes. I don't know why I lifted it up so much. It's silly. Now there's going to be some quirks here. I had to fool around with this whole process a little bit, and my printer ends up being a little bit different, and I'll explain that in the end of this video, so make sure you watch the whole thing and don't just end at the end of this, because I had to do some different stuff. But I'm going to go through the process that's outlined in the instructions here. So after the G28 command, you notice that the sensor is in the middle of the bed, not the nozzle. So we're going to move the nozzle over to the center of the bed by doing a G1X110 Y110. Now if you have a different printer than the A8, then this is going to be different. If your bed size is a little bit different. For the A8, this is correct, but look in the documentation as it spells out what to do. Now that's going to move very slowly the nozzle to the center of the bed. And eventually we get there. Now we are going to use these controls through Kira to lower the nozzle down to the bed, so that we can, put the piece of paper in and do our normal bed leveling or our gapping. So I'm just going to arrow down. That's a little too far. I'll go 0.1 up, 0.1 up. Let's go down one. That's a good amount. So we've gone down, and the next thing is we're going to do a G92Z0. We're basically telling the printer that that is where the bed is. After that, we're going to do a G30X110 Y110. Again, if you have a different printer than the A8 with a different bed size, that number is going to be different. Check the documentation. Now it gives us this readout, bed X110 Y110 negative 0.9 or 0.09. This should not be a negative number, and this is where my printer differs. And the reason is because my sensor has to be very close to the bed in order to trigger. Most sensors, this is going to be a positive 4 or 2, something like that. It's going to be a positive number. So let's assume that it was 4.22, for instance. So the next thing we would do is we would do M851Z, and if it was 4.22, then I would do a negative 4.22. If I put a negative, like I said, this number should be a positive number, not a negative number. If I do a negative 0.09, this isn't going to work. Trust me, I've already done it. So you would do a negative 4.22. You do a M851. Sorry, not an M851. We already did that. You do a M500 to save the value, and you'd be done. You can go up here and hit print. Unfortunately, mine did not work like that. And like I said, it's because my sensor is it's probably a millimeter above the edge of my nozzle, and because of that, it's messing things up, and it's probably because it's the crappy Anet sensor. I should just upgrade to the better sensor. So what I had to do in order to do this is just basically screw around with it. After my nozzle ran into the bed and gouged it a couple times, I realized, you know what, I just need to do this kind of manually. So I ended up with a offset of negative 0.5 is what I ended up with my offset being. And I just, like I said, I trialed and errored it. I started at just a 0, an offset of the M851 0.0, and then I started slowly going down by 0.1 increments of that, and just doing a print, doing a first layer, and seeing, okay, how does that look? And you can usually tell as soon as it starts printing, because the nozzle will be, a millimeter or 2 above the bed, and you're like, okay, that doesn't work, and you can go down a couple more. And I finally got to 0.5. I tried it. It looked pretty good. I went to 0.6, and the first layer was a little too smashed. I'd love to be a 0.55. But I don't know if it takes into account the second decimal point. So I'm here, and it does print okay. So that's what you do. Then I would need to save mine again to make it correct. Then you can hit print and you're done. The auto leveling works really great. I'll go ahead and hit print so we can start seeing it through the auto level. As soon as the temperature hits 55 again here and 190. And altogether it works good. The auto leveling places are correct now. I know last time on version 1 I had to screw around in the programming of the Arduino files to get the right locations for the sensor to read because it was reading off the bed and there was a lot of issues with that. And I know a lot of you guys had issues with that too. I saw comments in the post. So that's one advantage of this, is that, as you can see, the sensor is reading the correct spots. Like up front here, the nozzle is actually off the bed, but the sensor is on the bed. And this is an issue specifically with the Anet sensor because it's so far back. I believe there are some different mounting plates you can get to move the Anet sensor around up front. I haven't looked at that, and I might do that, and maybe I'll do a video on it. But altogether, so far it's worked great, and I'll be doing some more prints with it this weekend, and I have some other videos, some casting videos I want to do that I'll have to print out some stuff, as well as some casting filament I'm going to be doing a review on. Once again, guys, thank you for watching. I hope this helps. Leave comments in below if you have any tips or tricks. If I did something wrong or you think I screwed it all up, let me know. I don't care. It's all about learning and getting it right. If you like this video, hit subscribe to see my other videos that I put out. I do a lot of 3D printing and casting videos, which I hope you like. Check out my Patreon page. Even if you don't plan on donating anything, I mean, every little thing helps, but I always put updates to my new videos on there that everybody can see. And if you can give, great, that's awesome. All this stuff takes time. So, and then of course, like the video. If this was helpful at all, hit like, please. It really helps. Again, thanks for watching, guys, and see you later.